All right, let's move on to Monday Night Football. We got the Ravens going to New Orleans to take on the Saints. The Ravens are 2.5-point favorites. The total is sitting around 48. And the news, the relevant news that we just got not too long ago was that for the Ravens, Rashad Bateman is going to be out for the season. So that's a tough loss for them. And for the Saints, Michael Thomas looks like he's going to be out for the season as well. Jarvis Landry is back practicing, so maybe we get a Jarvis Landry sighting this week. But essentially, the two teams' number one receivers heading into the year, both out for the rest of the year. So tough blow, but who do you like in the captain spot given all of that?
I got to go with Chris Olave given all of that because Michael Thomas is out for the season. That solidifies Olave as the Saints' top wide receiver for the rest of the season. Honestly, even if Michael Thomas were to return, that would probably still be true. Olave has looked really good this season. Like you said, even if Jarvis Landry does return, I don't think that's going to impact Olave too much. That's just going to knock down Traquan Smith, Marquez Callaway, those guys. But I love this matchup for Olave, especially in the captain slot. He already has a massive ceiling. But the Ravens have allowed the second most yards on pass attempts, 20 plus yards downfield. And Olave has seen the second most targets, 20 plus yards downfield. So this is a perfect spot for him where he might catch, the Ravens deep. And like I said, he has a massive ceiling. He's the clear number one target. So he is my favorite captain play for this slate.
Yeah, he's been money all year. He only has one game below 50 yards receiving, and that was his first game as an NFL pro. So yeah, he's been money all year, high floor guy, obviously with the high ceiling, as you mentioned, because of the way he's used. I'm going to go with Alvin Kamara here. And, he finally got off the schneid in the touchdown department in the last game. Baltimore is kind of a run funnel defense. They're 12th in DVOA against the pass, even after that awful start with the big, all the big plays given up to Miami, and which doesn't look as bad now because Miami's just, Tua has been balling, but 25th in DVOA against the run, and that's uncharacteristic for Baltimore. Now they are getting some guys back on their defensive front, and I think that will help, but still, the Saints team, their MO is run the football first and foremost. And Kamara is a big part of that. Baltimore also giving up the sixth most schedule adjusted targets per game to opposing backs. Remember, this is not the Wink Martindale defense anymore where, they're playing man coverage and blitzing and the running back really doesn't get a chance to get into many routes. He's got to block a lot of the time. So now Baltimore is much more zone heavy team. And as a result, you're seeing teams dump it off underneath to the backs a lot more. So with Mark Ingram out, you could also see Kamara perhaps play a little bit more higher of a snap count this week. There is a guy I like behind him that we'll talk about in a bit, but to me, you're playing, you're at home. It's just a small underdog in a kind of a coin flip game that could go either way. I do think they lean on Kamara as a centerpiece focal point of the game plan.
Yeah, I love it. I think either Olave or Kamara in the captain slot makes sense. Would you consider Taysom Hill in the captain slot here?
Oh yeah, he has to be every week. Well, seriously, he's a 3 touchdown threat every single time he steps on the field because a lot of times he's getting these red zone and goal line looks over Kamara. Now that changed a little bit in the last game, I think, because Kamara didn't get a touchdown through the first 7 weeks of the year. They're like, all right, we got to get this guy in the end zone, and there was a lot of talk about Kamara, and he was saying we lost our swag, we got to get it back, and so I think they're going to keep feeding him. But yeah, I love Taysom, and Taysom's route participation has been on the upswing as well. So
yeah, I'm actually projecting him for a reception.
Yeah, exactly. And he caught a ball early in the last game, if I'm not mistaken, against the Ravens. You got to almost throw that game out for at least for the Saints defense. I don't think Baltimore is going to. I know we're kind of hyping up all Saints guys here. I still would play some Lamar too. I think Stuckey made a good point. A lot of the Raiders were on the injury report with an illness heading into that Saints game, so it might have been a COVID situation that you just.
Devontae was sick.
Yeah, because that's the only. It was inexplicable. Listen, the Saints. We thought they'd have a better defense than they actually did coming into that game. Now that they look a little better in the metrics, but I still think Baltimore is not going to get shut out or anything like that. But yeah, to answer your question, yes, Taysom always.
Of course, probably the highest ceiling on this slate.
I'd still go Lamar Jackson.
Like you said, like Chris McCaffrey, 3 different types of touchdowns upside.
Oh yeah, that is true. Who do you like for dart throws?
Okay, well, I banned myself from using this guy last week until he broke out. So now that he finally broke out, I'm going with Isaiah Likely again. And we saw, Mark Andrews went down. He had an amazing start to that game, went down, Likely came in, ran 81% of the routes, and, caught 6 balls for 77 yards and a touchdown. Looked amazing doing it. So I'm thinking, even if Andrews returns this week, which I think he will, now he could be limited. They're going to have to use Likely either way because Rashad Bateman's out for the season. I expect them to elevate Deshaun Jackson, but he's a different type of receiver. So either way, I think Likely has to be their number 2 target going forward. So I love getting him here. I don't care if the cat's out of the bag now. Everybody knows about him. He could be chalky. If Mark Andrews does miss, it's going to be pretty obvious. And like I said earlier in the week, when I updated my projections, assuming Andrews is out, Isaiah Likely was my number 2 tight end overall for the week. So that just goes to show the massive upside he has if Andrews were to ever miss time or be limited. So I'm sticking with Likely here. And then on the Saints side, I got to go with Rashid Shaheed.
That's my dude.
How could you not? I'm glad I got an outline and took him first. But he is the perfect dart throw for a showdown slate. He has been a big play machine the past 3 weeks for the Saints. And his routes run rate, it was around 15% his first 2 games. Last week it doubled to 32%. And I could see him, increasing his role going forward. He's looked that good. So like I said, the Ravens defense has been prone to deep balls this year. Yes, a lot of those were against the Dolphins, but either way, he's the kind of guy that only really needs one big catch, one big run, to kind of break the slate. So I think he's the perfect kind of dart throw for a showdown slate.
Yeah, I like Shaheed a lot. Weber State, right? Yeah. Weber State guy, undrafted free agent, but it seems to me like he's playing that Deontay Hardy role. And that's, that's the consistent, that's the role on the Saints. It's not a big role, but it's a role that you're usually going to get maybe 20% of the snaps on offense. And I think they kind of design plays for him because even looking at his routes, run 6 the first time he played, 8 the next time, 10 last week. So it seems to me like they're kind of integrating him slowly, but they're designing a package for him every week, and he's explosive and it's paid off. So yeah, I think it's going to continue. And even with Landry coming back, I don't think it's going to cut into Shaheed. I think he's always going to have that 15 to 30% kind of snap rate and get a few gadget plays designed for him. So yeah, love that call. I'll go with my boy James Prochet.
Yes.
I'm going to continue to not buy the Demarcus Robinson hype. I know he had 6 catches for 64 last week, but it was actually Prochet who outsnapped Robinson pretty significantly. 70% route participation rate for Prochet, 53% for Robinson, and Prochet's was the same as Devin Duvernay. So and that they've talked up Prochet and hey, we're going to get him more opportunities. So I think it could easily flip this week with Prochet getting more catches than Robinson. So going with him. You mentioned Deshaun Jackson. If he's active, obviously, I think you want to throw a couple of darts with him just because Bateman out for the season. A quarter of Bateman's targets this year were 20 yards or more downfield. So they are kind of missing that role in the offense. Tylan Wallace is a guy who I think at times they've used in that role, but he's obviously fallen out of favor, getting passed up by Prochet, and he was inactive the last 2 weeks. I think he'll be active this week, but if they call up Jackson, there's a chance he's still not active, and they go with 4 wide receivers again. So either way, I think Jackson, if he's active, is the guy that you want, and then Prochet. Those two are going to be the guys you want. And for the Saints, Dwayne Washington, just because Evan Ingram, Dontrell Wilson, Evan Ingram, Mark Ingram is out for 3 to 4 weeks, and with that, Washington played a season high 13 snaps last week. He tied a season high with 4 touches, and the other back that they were kind of using in that backup to Kamara role, Tony Jones Jr., he's now on the Seahawks. Now he might get cut too because Travis Homer came back last week and he was a healthy scratch, but he's, as far as we know, he's still on the Seahawks roster. And so I think Washington, who's always going to be active for one of the better special teams players in the league. So I think he's going to kind of step into that backup running back role. And remember, Kamara, he has had some in-game injury situations, with the ribs and the shoulder and things like that. So obviously Taysom Hill will play some running back too, but Washington is, a big hit from Kamara away from being the team's number one running back in this game. So give me some Dwayne Washington as well.
Yeah, so they have Jordan Howard and Jake Funk on the practice squad. Do you think they'll call one of them up, but you think it'll be Jordan Howard? And would he be interesting at all?
I would say yes, only because we saw how they thrust Latavius Murray into a meaningful role the minute he signed with the team. So I would say yeah, but
because they don't really trust Dwayne Washington. Has he ever had a big game?
Yeah. Let's see. So I think he had one or two when like week 17 type games. Let me see.
Yeah. Was it last year? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, they gave him, they could have just given Kamara all the usage last week and they gave Washington some. But let's see.
He did nothing last year.
He's had 100-yard game. He had a 100-yard game in 2018.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, he's been talented, but he's been around for a while.
Yeah, I mean, let's not be mistaken here. He's a special teamer who is going, is running back by trade, mostly plays special teams, but in this situation, he's still kind of the number 2 running back. So Jordan Howard, I think, is intriguing if he gets called up. I would kind of look at both of them as equal. If it's Jake Funk, not as much, because I think Funk would be more of like a passing down specialist or a guy who would take over that special teams role for Washington so that Washington could kind of play more running back. So Howard would be more interesting. Maybe he gets you a touchdown, but as of now, it's Dwayne Washington, and he's been that guy that's next up. So I
think investing in whoever the backup is a good call. And when it comes to James Prochet, he has 4 catches on the season. How many do you need now? I think it's,
what did we do? 49
45. So if for
45,
the listeners,
okay.
we have a side bet for James Prochet receptions on the season. I have under 49.5 and Raybon has over. And I am not doing a victory lap by any stretch of the imagination. You've been so hot this year. I think that I might win it, but with Bateman down for the year, I mean, Prochet could be their top receiver the rest of the season. So, if he has a good second half, you got a shot here.
I think it's over, but I will say this: last year he did randomly have a game in December against the Bengals where he had 7 catches for 76 yards. So it's like we've seen him catch some balls in the past, but it's still the Ravens. Like I thought he was going to open the year as the number 3. That's kind of why I made the bet.
Well, he's been banged up too, to be fair.
And we do got a fullback. We do have a fullback on this slate. It's Patrick Ricard. I would say he's more of on the better side of the spectrum when it comes to these dart throws, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because let's see, if we look at the last 5 or 6 games, he's averaged a 38% route participation. So he's out there running routes. He'll see, maybe 1 to 2 targets, potentially a goal line vulture. I don't know if he has any touchdowns this year, but certainly he has them in the past. And I got mistaken the last time he was on a showdown slate. He used to play defensive end as well. So very versatile player. Especially, a guy with Bateman down, maybe Mark Andrews is going to be limited again. A guy like Ricard is definitely an above average fullback showdown play.
Yeah. 6'3", 311.
Yeah, he is a monster.
Yeah. That's crazy.
He should have more rushing touchdowns, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's never had one, I believe.
That's weird.
Yeah, he's never had one. He's had 5 receiving, none rushing.
Oh, 5 receiving touchdowns?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So 5, but still, I mean, that's 5 touchdowns on 42 career touches. So that's a pretty good rate if you just get a touch or 2 on the showdown slate. I mean, you're talking about a better than a 10% chance.
Yep.
So
he is an absolute tank.
Absolutely. And what do the luck rankings look like for this one?
Oh, so this is actually a good one. So the Ravens rank 7th. They're the 7th luckiest team. and the Saints are 29th. So the third unluckiest team. That is the largest luck differential of the week. That's a differential of 22. And the reason is, both teams have played more like 4-4 teams. So this should be a pretty close matchup. So let's see, how would we use that to apply to this game? The spread.
I think I'm doing it right. I think I got the Saints running backs and Ravens receivers.
Yeah. And the Ravens are playing catch up and have to throw to Isaiah Likely.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. But yeah, that is interesting because a lot of people would say the Ravens are unlucky because they could also be like 7-0. Didn't they trail or what is it?
Yeah, that's
they only trailed for like 120 seconds, right?
Yeah, that's an interesting point because they've been really good at building up a lead and then they give it back. So it's like, what do you give more credit to? So that's all sorted out when we come up with our expected score.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, they have been good at building up leads, but then they can't keep it. Which is really bizarre because the Ravens should be a good run-heavy team. They've been, Lamar has been a front runner his career, so that's been a bizarre aspect with the Ravens. But according to our luck rankings, it's sort of canceled out. But on the Saints side, they have been unlucky, especially the London game. I think it was they lost by 3. My God, I had them plus 3.5, so I ended up winning. But they had so many just timely penalties where they would stop the Vikings on 3rd down and then there's a penalty, so now it's 1st down. They had so many just unfortunate mistakes in that game. Granted, they were self-made, but either way, they have been a lot better than I think the public considers them. And we just talked about their whole team as really good plays for DFS. They have a very versatile team of offensive players. Their defense has been lackluster this year, but they have talent there. So it's just a situation where the perception of them is probably lower than what it should be.
Are the Vikings pretty lucky? They're 6-1, so I would guess...
the Vikings are absolutely
okay. Yeah, I'm good.
Lucky,
I'm selfishly asking because I already
and the
bet
Vikings
on the Commanders.
Yeah, exactly. And the Vikings are always getting in 1-score games.
Yep, so they're winning them this year, which is good for their fans.
Yeah, exactly. They always get them, and this year they have finally seen the luck go in their favor. But going forward, you would expect them to be closer to 50-50 in these 1-score games. But yeah, they have been very lucky this year.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap it for the Week 9 Fantasy Flex Night Shift podcast. For more great fantasy content from Sean and I, be sure to check out our full player projections episode, which is out right now over on the Action Network podcast channel. We also have our fantasy preview episode where we break down a Thursday night slate and the main slate. That's right here on the Fantasy Flex podcast channel, which is out as well. Also, you could check out the news and waivers episode of Fantasy Flex every Monday from Samantha Praviti and Mike Triplett. actionnetwork.com for all of our NFL fantasy and betting content, fantasy labs for our DFS tools and models. You can find Sean on Twitter at @the_oddsmaker. You can find me at Chris Raybon, and you can find us at those same handles on the free award-winning Action Network app. Until next time, let's get this shmoney.